But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
No.
That's right, Brett Walsh. Yes, Everett, you must execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win. Welcome back to the 9x9, ladies and gentlemen, the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet. It is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. It's episode 147. Very interesting day. My name is Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is Everett Delorme, live from Toronto. Interesting day in a lot of ways.
So many ways.
Ton of ball, ton of just interesting drama on and off the court, so to speak. We will get into all of it, but I mean, even just today, we had matches go that ended like 15 minutes ago that we were not expecting. Very, very interesting. Mr. Delorme, where would you like to start?
Do you want to start with Champions League? Like we just saw
games
it.
We just saw. Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, and to be honest, it's just going to be a quick little touch on it because really, I thought the first game had the potential for the upset. Right, Zawiercie heading to Lüneburg. That Lüneburg gym has been tough to play in. Right, remember they beat Modena there. They beat Berlin there this year. I know they got one other win. I just can't remember quite what it was. But that's a tough gym to play in. And we saw a little bit of life from them in the second set. Right, they went down by big. They managed to close the gap a little bit. They might have been even. At a certain point, actually, did they hold a certain lead? Did they hold a little lead?
Not really. They
doesn't
were
really matter.
Around. It didn't matter. Yeah,
it really didn't matter.
No.
It was what it was. I was hoping that Lüneburg energy would be able to rattle Zawiercie a little bit more, but this Zawiercie team is just so dialed into what they're doing.
Dude.
Yeah. They're really, really good. They're
really good. Yeah, I felt for Lüneburg for sure. I mean, we've really enjoyed watching that team. We'll talk about them again a little bit later on, but they had to work so hard to get anything going against Zawiercie, and every point that you thought that Lüneburg had an advantage within the point itself, Zawiercie would make a play and steal it from them. They would recycle a ball. They would get a miraculous block touch. They would dig a ball. Like Lüneburg couldn't buy a kill. I thought their first ball side out was average. Their transition offense was non-existent just because Zawiercie was smothering them. Zawiercie's attention to detail is so good that they really didn't give Lüneburg any amount of a chance. And back in Poland in the next leg, I think this series is over.
Especially in Zawiercie's own game.
Yeah, come on.
Like that's a tough place to play at any time. But you know what? This game went as it should have gone on paper.
Yes.
The match that didn't go necessarily how it should have gone on paper, Rob, was
one
the
that
second
just
one
ended. Yeah.
That, you know what, we didn't know if we were going to be watching a fifth set, which would have been wild had we did. But
and honestly, it should have gone 5. Monza completely choked that fourth set against Perugia.
They completely choked. They were up by 2. It was 23-21. Right?
They were up 21-18 as well and lost.
Yeah. So just a rough one there from Monza. But you know what? They came out swinging. Good for them. And it is a little bit easier too, because if you're Perugia, I'm sorry, but like a quarterfinal with Monza, who's barely not relegated, doesn't really register in terms of like, this is a big game that we need to really get up for. But for Monza, this is what they live for, right? It's
the only volleyball they have left to play this year. It's
exactly
literally this series, and then their season is over.
Which is like, if you're Monza, those players are kind of perfect because I don't think they have to play that end of season thing. They
do not. They are literally done. As soon as they're eliminated from Champions League, they all go home.
So you just go pedal to the metal, balls to the wall for one match. And like, I thought for sure, like Eric Rohrs and Martilla, both of them like had really good matches. Like these guys both showed up for this match. Like all around this, actually, I don't think Arthur played the best.
Arthur was bad. He got benched for an 18-year-old Italian kid from the B League.
Yeah.
So that's tough, but like I think that's the takeaway, is that Perugia has their sights set on higher things than a series against a team that was 1 point away from relegation, and they almost lost this. Like Perugia tried to lose this game.
Yeah,
they did not play well by any means. Their outside hitter position was a revolving door. Ole Plotnitsky had a very rare, pretty poor game. They were able to somehow rescue it in the fourth after a couple really lucky breaks. I mean, you had an Ishikawa tape ace, you had a Taylor Averill like center line fault. You had like the Loser one-on-one read on the Bick against Roars, which was a sick play. Like that, it was. They stole that fourth set, and it had that game gone to 5. Obviously, the series completely changes.
And it was all just based off athletic plays too.
Exactly.
Right? Like it was the guys just being like, I'm just going to be better than you mano y mano,
Yep.
and I'm gonna take it away. So ultimately, I would have loved to see Monza just steal that away. Just
would have been hilarious.
Just put a little bit into it there for Perugia to feel a little bit, but now because that was at Monza too, right?
It was.
Yeah. They're gonna head back to Perugia, and it's gonna be game over. In my opinion.
I think we all know how we expect that one to go. Credit to Taylor Averill for his performance and second to last match in a Monza jersey, 12 for 15. 2 blocks, 14 points total. That's pretty solid from the middle spot. Did what he could. Monza knows the situation. They have nothing to play for except to just be a spoiler in this series. They almost pulled it off. But
yeah, I mean, like the broadcast even started too with, of course, it's like these pre-game interviews, and it's Searchy and Everett, which is just like, okay,
the president owner of the franchise,
man,
getting interviewed pregame. That's literally the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
there's no other owner on planet Earth who would do that except for Jerry Jones.
I would love to be like, let's get Jerry Jones and Gino Searcy into a room together, and let's just let them talk ownership. Like, give them a few bottles of wine. I'm sure it would be like fantastic. But yeah, and Avrill's just like, yeah, I mean, like might be one of the best teams in the world. And like we get to play with them. He's like, some people, some people might say that we've played better in the Champions League than we did at home, and that we're two different teams. And we're here to prove that. And that's kind of what they did. But
good effort. Ended up being more entertaining than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be on this Tuesday afternoon in North America. And so, Everett, while we're talking about these two Italian teams, do you want to jump back to the SuperLega, or do you want to stay with the CEV? Because we've got a bunch to hit on both subjects.
Let's just let's stick with the CEV for now. Let's stick in Europe. Do you want to head over to the other match you want to head over to the Champions League first?
Let's stick with Champions League. So on the men's side, there's 2 more matches this week. Olympiacos versus JSW. If that piques your interest for some reason, you can watch that match. I think that's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. But the other match that I think actually might be a little bit fun is Hawkbank versus Warszawa, also tomorrow. So take that for whatever it's worth. We got to catch up though with the Women's Champions League quarterfinals, because the volleyball was played last week, Everett.
It wasn't interesting, but it was played.
It was not interesting, but volleyball was played.
Man.
So we already talked about Malonza beating Zajabasha. We went on a good rant about how bad that was on last week's show. Fenerbahce donged Vakif Bank in the Istanbul Derby. This match was competitive, but it was a 3-donging nonetheless. Scandici got by Budovani Woj, obviously, and Corneliano obviously got past developer Zhezhov. However, I will say Corneliano was down 14-3 in the third set in that match. They were down 14-3. They were down 11 points. 11 points. And they came back and won at 29-27.
This Corneliano team, man, we've
talked about it a lot, but we have to keep talking about it when they do stuff like that. It's pretty ridiculous.
That is unreal. Honestly, Rob, I don't even want to jump in too much to any of these games. It's just, I'm so apathetic towards so much European volleyball right now. There's just no reason to care about it. And we need, something needs to be done. I'm sorry, the world's going to hell anyways. Let's bring Russia back.
Oof.
Come on.
Yeah, volleyball wise, it's been kind of bad. It's especially on the women's side, man. I was this was the point when I was finally expecting and very hopeful and legitimately excited, and no, 4-3 dongs.
This is the result, Rob, of the American exodus, right? This is the result of there's just the talent pool and the amount of quality that is left in Europe, isn't as much now because there's been so many Americans who have left. And now ultimately it's a good thing, right? You're creating more opportunities. You're just creating more places. There's going to be more demand. Like those holes are going to get filled, but for a little bit we're seeing this. We're seeing it like this. I actually think that it's going to help more. It's not going to necessarily help in the Turkies and in those ones. It's going to help because think about
second tier leagues.
Yeah, because think about all of the Romanian teams or the German teams or the French teams. They're always chock full of Americans, right? So now it's really going to allow more opportunities for their own domestic players to get those opportunities, or more European players or whatever it may be. Ultimately, it's a good thing, but in the short term, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer, or the rich stayed the same and the poor got a lot poorer.
Yeah, that's the good way to say it. I'm looking at Vakifbank versus Fenerbahce stats. I think I said that the only way Vakifbank was going to have a chance in that series was if Marina Markova was the best player on either team.
Yeah,
she did drop 22 on high volume, high efficiency, but it was not enough. I mean, Fedorovtseva 18, Anna Kristina 11, Vargas 14. Like that. This was a close match for sure. I mean, Yuan Jinue almost was a millimeter away from an ace serve that would have won the third set, but now it's Fenerbahce's series to lose, and now the intrigue gets kicked down the line because after these series are over, which are this week, by the way, leg 2 of all these series is this week.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
When? Tomorrow?
I think all 3 of them are tomorrow, and then it's Zajabasha Malonza is Thursday. So all those games are this week. Then we have to wait until the semifinals won't be played until that last weekend of the year in early May. So if we're going to get any remotely interesting European women's volleyball, it's going to happen literally tomorrow.
No.
Or we're going to have to wait 6 weeks.
No, yeah, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
I don't see it either, man.
Maybe I'm being pessimistic right now, but yeah.
I don't see it either. So
yeah,
a couple other things CEV wise. Resovia beat Tours in 5 in the CEV Cup today. I turned this on in the 4th set. I wasn't really aware that it was happening, but it looked like a decent match.
It was. Ryan Sclater was going off for Tours. I didn't even
31. Wow.
I didn't even know he was playing for Tours. Did he get 31?
He did.
Damn, let's go, Sclate.
29 for
51. Bro, I didn't even know he was still playing pro volleyball.
5 errors and 2 blocks. It's pretty solid, man.
Yeah, that's wild. Good job, Sclater. Boy can still ball. Maybe Canada will pick him. Actually, now that Samuel Vuo's gone, Sclater could come back. We may need him.
Yeah, you just might. Boye 28, Bednoj 23, Chibul 17 off the bench on sky high efficiency.
Chibul was lights out.
Yeah, he was awesome.
5 for 5 in the 5th.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he was unreal. So I mean, it was a pretty entertaining game. Even the 5th set, Tours was still fighting quite a bit. So I enjoyed it, and just watching Sclate ball out like that made me a little nostalgic.
Yeah, it looked like a solid match, and then they go back to France in either next week or in 2 weeks. And because it went 5, anything is possible. So that'll actually be really fun on one side of the men's.
And you know what? That Tours gym is interesting.
It's sick.
Yeah.
It's really good. Sure. I've seen I mean, was it last year or 2 years ago that in this same matchup, Tours Resovia, Tours beat him twice in Champions League pools? I think that might have been last year.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. I was just thinking how that Sclater is probably the best, the perfect type of guy to go off because he played in the PlusLiga last year. He saw this Resovia team twice last year while playing with JW. He knows them well. So, and it's I doubt they would have game planned for him all that much. So yeah, love to see that.
On the other side of the men's CEV Cup, actually a legitimately really fun game. It might be the best game in all of CEV this week. Trentino versus Ziraat Bank tomorrow. I am legitimately really excited for that. Trentino, both of those rosters are Champions League caliber for sure.
No, I'm more excited for the Challenge Cup final.
That's going to be good too. Lube versus Luke Lublin is an awesome one. That is also tomorrow, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is. Both of those tomorrow. I mean, I'm not that excited for Ziraat Bank versus Trentino.
I am. That's fun, man. Matt Anderson, Trevor Kleveno, and Tonček Stern against Trentino's wings. Dude, those rosters are good.
Actually, I take that back. That it's just it's just it's those guys, but it's also the everyone else. It's all the Turkish.
There is a drop off at
The Turkish
guys, for
riffraff,
sure.
right? And I feel like when you're playing against Trentino, they're going to build their game plan towards targeting those guys, right? Like Klevno's not be getting served out here.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah,
They're
going
going
after
to pepper whatever Turkish libero.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're going to go. They're going to go down the seams of the libero.
They don't really want to get the ball to Anderson that much either.
No, 100%. And if they do, they're going to move him around, right? Like they're going to go to the libero Anderson serve, especially when Anderson's in the front row. So like this. I feel like this one is a little bit of it's a little bit of a trick. Like you look at it, be like, oh, look at these big names. They're going up against Trentino, but then there's just nothing underneath, and Trentino's game plan is just going to be able to beat them down.
I could see that happening. I could also see a 5-setter. I think there are some possibilities here, just because Trentino is in the middle of the Italian playoffs. Now they have to travel, like they have to sandwich this competition in still.
No, they're playing Cisterna.
You're right. They're playing Cisterna. That's no problem.
Yeah, they're not worried about.
Come on, I'm trying to create some interest. There's a lot of boring volleyball going on right now. I want some of it to be.
Dude, fun. I think Lube versus Lublin is going to be a fun match.
I think that's fun.
I think that's going to be a fun match. Plus, like, you got a little bit of a Canadian flavor in that too. Bring me back to the 2018 national finals between UBC and Trinity Western. Finn McCarthy against Eric Lepke. So
we'll see if EFL gets his ass off the bench where he sat most of the game against Milano in like one of the playoffs.
That was okay. We're not talking about this now. We're going to talk about this later. Okay. We're not talking about this now. We're going to
hold that thought. For the record, there are no foreigner limits in CEV competition, so that helps actually both teams a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Because later.
Well, later. Women's side. Alba Blaj beat Vasas. They're going to the finals of the CEV Cup, whatever. Somebody did say that this is the 5th time in 7 years that Alba Blaj has played in a CEV final. Usually CEV Cup or Challenge Cup, but they always lose, which they will do again in this competition because whoever wins between Novara and THY on Thursday, probably Novara because they swept the first leg, is going to win that tournament. So whatever. However, Everett, something happened today that I have never, ever heard of before. And I don't know if we will ever see this ever again.
Maybe not. It's possible. Sorry.
Roma. From the LegaVolley Femminile, the second to last place team, a relegated team in the LegaVolley Femminile less than 2 weeks ago, beat Chieri again 3-1 at home in front of a sellout crowd, and they won the CEV Challenge Cup title. A team that got relegated, not like a team that like wins the Challenge Cup, goes next year, then gets relegated. No, like they literally, in the year that they got relegated, won a CEV title. That I've never seen that before. I don't think that may never happen again for the rest of volleyball history.
It's kind of like that NCAA school last year that went out and had that huge run, and even though the school was getting shut down, in the NCAA, was it NCAA basketball?
I don't necessarily know the story you're talking about, but that sometimes happens in the NCAA. Like a school's athletic department ceases to exist, and then they go on a gnarly run in their last chance.
What was that? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know, but like,
really matter,
dude, I actually watched a good portion of that Roma Chieri game today, and I credit to the crowd in Roma for showing up. Like they showed up, they packed the stands, they supported the last match of their team at a high level competition because they're getting relegated. Their budget's probably going to decrease substantially. Like everything for that club is going to change. And I'm sure it's really bittersweet now, but they literally won the Challenge Cup less than 2 weeks after getting relegated. And Chieri is dead in the water. They have no chance at being competitive in the playoffs from here on out. They are dead.
Yeah. Honestly, I was really high on Chieri this time last year. Like I was a Chieri bandwagoner, and this year they started really high, and I really loved watching them play. But I don't know, they just didn't evolve it seemed like every other team evolved in some way, and that you could see an evolution throughout their season, and that they changed, and maybe they brought someone in, or like a new player brought something different. Where with Kiri, it didn't really that didn't really seem the case. I really like Omorui, but she has good ball control, but she just can't get it done offensively, and everything was on the shoulders of.
You might be thinking of a different player, because Omarui is exactly the opposite of that. She is all offense, no ball control, and she barely saw the court today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she.
Okay, yeah, because it's CEV. That's why.
Right. So she barely saw the court today, and you were about to bring up Avery Skinner, and I feel for her because she was awesome today. 23 points, 19 for 35, blocked once. The one time she got blocked was to lose the tournament.
Oh no, that's brutal.
And that's error she made the entire match was getting stuff blocked to lose the tournament.
How did Jiquel do?
Jiquel was bad. Benched 8 points, 8 for 26, and 6 errors.
This is the big thing for me watching Kiri this season, and like I've mostly been watching it for Skinner, but I just found that Jiquel was really good early in the season, but then people started picking up on her game, like especially in the second half, and like she started getting shut down, and she wasn't able to develop other shots.
Yeah, she's just not physical enough. And you're right. When you figure her out, it's kind of curtains. They have the really, really big girl, backup opposite Anthuli, who came in.
She hits the ball hard and she has good contact, but she needs a very specific set. And like she's not dynamic enough to be able to play at this level.
Not at all. But dude, credit to Roma again, man. That was like seriously the historical.
They're going to the party right now. Oh, the party right now.
They have that's it. That their season is over.
That's it. Let's bring out the bottles of wine from like the Roman era and let's go for it, because
100%.
You know what? Let's go raid the Vatican, because hey, like you guys just did something special.
They deserve it too, man. That is really a cool thing that we just saw this afternoon, and I hope that they are all hammered right now. And they deserve it.
By the way, for those who say I can't say, you can raid the Vatican. I'm technically Catholic. I have done all the steps and used to be very practicing, not no more. But I'm like, you know what? Like if there was card carrying members, I would be one of them. Technically. Haven't used it in a few decades, over a decade, but yeah.
Technicalities. All right. While we're talking about Italian women's volleyball, I think we should hit the LegaVolley Femminile playoffs really quick, round 1, because it's really not interesting.
Yeah,
really quick. Let's
just sprinkle in a little bit of notes on it.
One set was won by an underseeded team in the entire first round, and that was Busto Orsizio against Scandici. Everything else was a 3-dong. Conegliano versus Bergamo was particularly depressing. Not that we're surprised by that. I was expecting a little more out of Valafolia. I was expecting a lot more out of Chieri, who once again are dead.
We'll have to see, right? But right now, I really like what Novara is bringing to the table.
Novara's good.
I've talked about it before. They brought, like, it's crazy because Tatiana Tolak was one of the best players all year long, and now she's riding the bench. And Taylor Mims has been absolutely unreal. She got 4 blocks in this one, 11 for 25, and 4 aces.
4 blocks, 4 aces. That's pretty gnarly. Yeah, that's a hell of a match.
Crazy.
8 points on special teams in 3 sets. It's pretty good.
I've never thought about it that way. Special teams.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Offense, defense, special teams.
Special teams. Yeah. But then wouldn't you say blocking is defense?
Yeah, I guess blocking might be defense.
Yeah.
I think of aces like sacks in football. Serving is very much like pass rush.
Yeah. I'm into that.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. We can get into them later. What we don't really need to get into is the LegaVolley Femminile playoffs, man. I predict all these series are going to be 2-0 at this point, and then it's going to be over. We'll move on to the semifinals, and then Scandici and Malonza are going to play, and then I'm interested.
Yeah, that's basically like I'll be interested in the semis. Like once we get to the semis, I think that'll be interesting. For
That's
sure.
what I mean. Scandici Malonza will be a semi, and that will be good.
Dude, I think Novara versus Canigliano might be a little. They could win a couple of sets. They could win a set here or there. That like.
I agree with you, but do you understand how depressing that is?
Yeah, I know, because I'm on the other side of the bet, bitch. Like, I'm well aware of what's happening right now. We made a bet months ago, last year.
We did.
And I picked the field against arguably the best women's volleyball team of all time. I should have picked the field to win one fucking game, not the championship.
I don't know. Maybe if Fenerbahce or someone beats Canigliano in Champions League, maybe we'll give you half of it. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like,
all right. Let's move on. This is interesting. This is interesting and compelling. Some of it was. We're not obviously. So we're talking about men's SuperLega playoffs. We're not going to talk about Trentino versus Cisterna.
Nope. There's two games I want to talk about here.
I think the other three are worth talking about. Like Perugia Modena was fun. The first two sets were really fun.
Actually, yeah, I do give credit to Modena for showing up. Yeah. Right? For getting off the bus and going balls to the wall. Daviskiva continued to be really good. Buchkager was out there slugging. Gutierrez, I thought he did a good job too. Overall, they served really well. Like that was like they really put their pressure on from the baseline, or they tried to anyways.
10 aces, 21 errors is really good. And that's the only way to beat Perugia. The only chance you have.
Yeah. You know what? They kept it interesting. I thought DeCecco. Oh wait, was it? Yeah, it was mostly DeCecco. Yeah. I know Uriarte got in there a little bit, but yeah, DeCecco was really good. And like DeCecco's gonna turn on a game like this, right? Like he's gonna get a half chub for playing Perugia in the playoffs. And he's gonna get up for it. Now once they're down 0-2 and later in the third, I don't know. What's probably when we see Uriarte coming in, but. This is probably, to be honest, this is probably peak Modena here.
Maybe they were on the road, man. This was a 2.5 hour 4-set match. Like this was, which like you never see that. The second set went 32-30. That was a 45-minute set. Like this was long, drawn out, pretty entertaining. But I think that Modena gave it just about all they had, and they didn't even get to the tiebreak.
Yeah, no, that's exactly like this is what they blew their load, and I don't think Perugia got off at all.
You're all in with the innuendos today. Eh?
Sorry, I don't know.
7 points for Simone Gianelli in 5 sets. Pretty sick for your setter. Bentara 16, Semeniuk 16, Plotnitsky 15. I am interested in that series. If Modena keeps that going, they bring it back home this weekend. I think there's a chance. There's a chance.
What?
They win a match. They're not going to win the series.
No.
They're not going to win the series.
No. Okay. Moving forward, the only thing that I want to talk to about the Verona versus Piacenza game.
There's actually kind of a lot I want to talk about this game.
Well, I mean, the thing is that like, are we going to see Mozic and Keita back? Like that's so random that like out of nowhere it happened.
I was infuriated when I turned away from Milano Lube, which went deep into the 5th set and ended right around the time that Verona Piacenza started. I flipped over to Verona Piacenza. I did not see Rok Mozic or Nomori Keita on the court, and I was pissed. What the hell is going on here? What happened to those two players? Why am I watching this game if neither of them are going to play? And I still don't entirely know the answer. I think it was announced. I shouldn't say announced. This is volleyball. We don't do anything as far as like publicizing player availability. Mozic has some kind of muscle issue, and Nomori Keita did come in and play in the 4th set. But like, part of the evil thought crossed my mind, Everett, that this is Radostin Stoichev trying to tank the franchise on his way out of town.
Yeah, I really don't know what was happening. I mean,
the game was bad.
Yeah, the game was bad, but And it did result in a pretty good Jordan Ewart game.
Yeah.
Scored 15, thought he was decent. Mads Kid Jensen also scored 15, which is like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Gross.
Um,
Only Piacenza could have a roster that good and give up 15 points to Mads Kid Jensen. Only Piacenza could stoop to that level.
I thought Piacenza was pretty good overall. Like they took care of business decently. I just don't think that they have a prayer that much moving forward after this. But like this one, it all depends on can Keita and Mosic come back.
Of course it does. And like for the good of volleyball, I want to see them play in this series, and I want to see Verona win this series because the team that they're putting together for next year allegedly needs to go to the Champions League.
Yes,
especially as they get rid of Radostin and Stoichev. And Everett, we can talk about this offline. I can't say it on the show, but I heard some tea about what's going on in the Verona franchise right now.
Bro,
I heard some tea.
What? Let's just drop it here.
I can't drop it here, but we know that Radostin and Stoichev is not coaching Verona next year, and I learned why over the weekend. And
is it because he choked the fan again in the Lüneburg game?
It does have to do with that, yeah. but the domino effect is very interesting, and I can't drop it on the show. But
okay, can we? No, you know what we need to do here is can we set up a scene where we can hear, like, basically we're muted to the fans, but you and I can hear each other, but so they can just see you talking and my reaction.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. Of all people, too. That's crazy. That is like you and like, bro, like in a suit. Oh yeah, that's bad. I mean, it makes sense though. But like, what a turn of events! What a turn of events! All right, let's turn it back on.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
The people can hear me again now. Yeah, very very interesting. Very interesting tea spilling segment. Sorry, people, you're never going to hear any of that. Verona is going through it, and which is kind of why the evil thought crossed my mind that Stoichev is trying to burn the franchise to the ground on his way out the door. But if Nomori Keita is healthy enough to play, which apparently he was, he came in the fourth set, it is completely inexcusable not to play him. I don't care. I don't care if he's sick. I heard maybe there's an illness in the locker room. I don't care. If he's dressed to play, get his ass on the floor. Same with Mosic. If Mosic is 80%, get his ass on the floor.
Here's my only thought about your, like, Stoichev, like, basically,
sabotage,
and that's the word I was looking for. The team is that if that was actually the case and those guys weren't actually good to go, he would have been canned Monday morning, right? Like if you were the team owner and like everything is riding on this and everything is riding essentially on this series to get
which it is
100%, right? That's to me the lack of reaction otherwise would have, like, because like especially like they have nothing to lose by letting go of Stoichev now and just bringing in like an assistant coach to run the team for the rest, like just through this.
Right.
If it was the case of like he's just not playing them, because at that point, like at that point, if you're the owner, you're like, okay, you're canned. Which one of you assistants can put them on the score sheet? Right. That's right. That's
basically it.
That's basically it, right?
Put them on the score sheet and call timeouts occasionally. Yeah. That's it.
So, like, to me, it has to be something legitimate. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. They'd be out there.
I agree with you.
That's volleyball where we don't have any fucking information.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I don't understand why we don't know any of this information before the most important playoff game of the year.
Like, did they get put on the IR? What's the, like, coming from a North American sports perspective, just showing up to a match and
having the two most important players maybe in the entire playoffs not playing, like not in the starting lineup.
Wild, yeah.
It's like
Absolutely wild.
flying across the world to go to a Lakers game only to learn that LeBron's out for load management or something like that, which is a shot at the NBA because that absolutely does happen.
Yeah, I mean that happens a lot with Messi. When Messi doesn't play, people get pissed.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
I bet they do. So Verona Piacenza, the entire series hinges on the availability of those two players, Keita and Mosic. And I was so bummed not to be able to watch them because the match ended up being a snooze fest. I mean, Verona stole a set. Piacenza clearly was expecting Mosic and Keita. They were not expecting Francesco Sani and Mads Jensen. So part of me doesn't even blame them for
NCAA trio, basically.
God, it was an NCAA trio. And Ewert was good, and Ewert will start next to Mosic when everybody is healthy.
Yeah.
But now, currently, this is Piacenza's series to lose.
Yes. If the roster stays at how it is, this is Piacenza's series to lose. On the flip side, good day for Stephen Marr.
Yeah, he was really good.
Marr looked really good. That was playoff Marr.
Yeah.
Hasn't had the best of seasons. I think, you know what, he gave over the past, like up coming to the season, the past few years, he's given a lot to himself of himself to, you know, club and country. And we've kind of seen it this year, especially, but like when it's time to go, baby, Mar's ready to go. 17 for 29 in this one, 2 aces.
Also, we have a proper Robert Landy Simone stat line: 9 for 10, 3 blocks and an ace. More points than attacking attempts. Remember when he did that the one year for the whole season?
Yeah,
when Dan dropped that knowledge bomb on us a couple of years ago. Shout out Dan.
All time. I was hanging actually on Sunday. I was hanging out with Dan.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out Dan. Miss him. Yeah, this is Piacenza's series to lose unless Keita and Mosic both come back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, otherwise it'll be
so Everett. Lube Milano, the one upset of the first round. Milano steals it 17-15 in the fifth on the road. This is Lube's first home loss of the year.
That's crazy. Really?
Yeah, that is Lube's first loss at home of the season. They've been literally flawless at home until this 5-setter over the weekend. This was like, I think you previewed this series really, really well. If Lube tries to box themselves into playing like traditional volleyball with Lugumja on the right and they slow everything down and then try and like match Milano system for system, position for position, that's not really the way for them to win this thing. And sure enough, like Milano with 2 key additions off the bench. One was your boy Jordan Schnitzer. Or no, he wasn't off the bench, but he was really good.
He was really good.
Off the bench was Tatsunori Otsuka, and we make fun of Japanese players a lot for a lot of reasons, but when you're good, you're good. Off the bench, 16 points, 15 for 30 and a block, and a big one-on-one block on I think it was Lugumja in the fifth. So credit to Milano first and foremost for getting on the board in the series and for making it interesting.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one live. I was hanging out with Dan. And I watched it back a little bit on VBTV. I had it in the background, but then I did scroll through it today on Volumetrics. And watching this one is pretty much exactly what I said, that if they try to play straight up with Lugumja, Riegers is a better player. Right? Yep. Riegers is a better, and he's a more like dynamic player. He plays better defense. He's a better volleyball player than Lugumja, right? Lugumja is really good in system, right? But he needs a good set, and honestly he needs a 1-on-1 to really terminate, right? He can attack hands decently, and because he's big, he finds success in doing that, but he doesn't really manufacture points in the way that Riegers will. Like Riegers will put him, like, get himself into positions like, how did he score on that? Like that ball is inside and, you know, it's off the net. Like, how did he hit that angle, or how did he go off hands in that way consistently? And then so when you're playing the style, like, and the way they play comparatively to when they have the 3 outside hitters is completely different, because once again, Lugumja needs a high looping ball. There's so many times in transition where he's completely ineffective because he doesn't get off the net far enough, because he's not fast enough to get the fast set that Bonifacio wants to set in transition. And then he's a little bit useless in those situations, right? So especially when you're just getting into a high ball to the outside situation, it doesn't, like, Lube is not nearly as good as ball control. When you have Botolo and either Nikolov or Lepke out there alongside Balasso, it's not as good as Otsuka and Luati, right? That to me was the biggest one, is that Lube was consistently out of system. I was a little frustrated. Like, I understood why they took Lepke out. Like, statistically, it looked bad. Like, he was 0 for 7, but he didn't hit one ball where he didn't have 3 blockers on him, right? He didn't hit one ball in system. Or more than a few of them were coming from him, like from behind the attack line, right? Both of those passing was bad. But yeah, to me, there's no way other than bringing in, like, you have to bring Nikolov, because he is an X factor offensively, but he's not useful when you have to set that high looping ball outside to Lagumja. He's just not. Like, you have to bring him in, and whether you have him on the left side and Lepke on the right, it doesn't really matter. It just makes your team more dynamic. It speeds up your offense, but also it helps you in the passing, because if either one of those 3 guys is struggling, you can pull any one of them out. You can shift. You can bring 4 guys in to just bring a little bit more support, right? So it just makes them way more dynamic. And ultimately, too, because Milano's was way more in system in this game, there's a few things that happened. I think there's way more in system in the game, and the middles ate that.
Yep.
Right? Like, Chin and Yeze got subbed out. Shannon wasn't good. Like, Schnitzer and
Droshanen hit 1,000 for the record, so he was very good on offense. But
he was very good on offense. But I just I
didn't expect Schnitzer and Koneski to have the impact that they had. You're right. On the Lagumja point, I agree with you. Lagumja is a good player. He is big. He has a good arm. He can score in volume. But in a playoff scenario, especially out of system, I would take Ferry Rager's 10 times out of 10 for the exact reasons that you said. He is so much more dynamic. He can manipulate the ball in more ways. He can get his body to more places. I think he has way more utility. And then you rightly gave the Milano ball control crew credit with Otsuka Luati, and I also want to give a lot of credit to Damiano Catania at libero, who I thought played really, really well. He dug some unbelievable balls, including in the 5th.
Yeah.
I am not worried about Lube after this game. They really almost won this game. They got an unbelievable Botolo performance offensively. He was automatic, especially for the first 3 sets. I think he was literally perfect. Unfortunately, he made I think it was his first 2 errors of the game in the last 2 points of the 4th set, which they lost. And then he made a late unforced error in the 5th set as well. So, like, poor timing for his very, very few errors, but Botolo was otherwise unbelievable. Also, Santiago Orduna, remember him?
Yeah.
He came in off the bench in the 5th several times, including starting the 5th to set Lube. So it wasn't Boninfante's best game to start his playoff run either. I'm not worried about Lube here in terms of their ability to win this series, but I do want to see Lepke, Botolo, and Nikolov on the floor together. I agree with you. I think that if you're Gianpaolo Madej and you are like trying to wrap your head around the game that you just saw that you narrowly lost, that is the wrinkle that I want them to throw at Milano on the road this weekend.
Yeah.
See what happens.
I am interested to see what happens in terms of their blocking, because especially when you watch back and watching volumetrics footage just reminds me why I need to watch volleyball from a baseline angle. It's just this is a completely different game when I'm watching this. When I'm watching this, but just seeing how little respect Lube's blockers paid to Otsuka. In his rotation, he was often up against the setter, right? He was often up against Bonifante. So
middles leaning away from him on every ball.
Yeah, middles, the middles are fronting, and especially once again, it was a really good credit to how good Milano was with the ball control. Schnitzer was really good offensively. He was there was a few times, especially with that slightly grainy volumetrics footage, I was like, oh damn, what was that? I was like, oh Schnitz, nice, let's go. Not really realizing it was him. But yeah, I if you are Piazza, do you start Otsuka or do you go back to Matej Kaczynski?
Great question. I think there's going to be, this is the series that to me has the most high level volleyball X's and O's intrigue, because both teams do have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Lube is a little more constrained foreigners wise than Milano is, but they both do have a lot of options. So I think there's going to be a lot of sort of push and pull chess match between these coaches as the series goes on. I do expect them to start Kaziski.
So do I. Yeah. I think that you need to give the old man the start because he's not getting going off the bench.
Oh,
right. Like
that's exactly right.
Right. Like you need like because he probably like how long do you think his warm up is? Like, he's probably like one of those guys who like maybe he doesn't even do serve and pass in the morning and then just rips just like a prolonged warm up. And once again, I'm just completely like spitballing here, but I do think that it like you have to start him, right? Also,
but
because
Suka is young and dynamic. He can come in off the bench, no problem.
Exactly.
Interesting one though. The like entertainment value wise, this was a fun match to watch. I mean, set 4 was super dramatic. Set 5 was super dramatic. This was solid. It got me excited for the series. This kind of got me into playoff mode. And then I watched Verona Piacenza, and then I was so stunned by not seeing Keita and Mozic that my whole brain got scrambled and confused. But shout out to both these teams. This is a fun series. I'm looking forward to it this weekend too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the only one that I think is worth watching. We'll see.
Unless Mozic and Keita come back. We'll see.
Is there anyone like attached to the Verona club anymore? Like, can we find out if they're coming back? Like, what's going on with that?
It's so stupid that we have to put our community to work to get us this information, but it is a great advantage of having our community is that we have some people that can find this out for us. If you have information about Keita and Mozic, tag us in the Discord, please.
Yeah.
Or put it in the live chat.
Actually, can we like are we switching? Are we done with SuperLega?
I'm done with SuperLega if you are, yeah.
All right. Can we switch? Can we talk about Discord stuff now? Can we just
Yes. So, let's have a little meta discussion.
Yeah, let's have a little
about the volleyball source community right now.
Yeah, let's have a bit of a meta discussion. There was some controversy, let's say, today, and I feel like we don't really address controversy that much because like the Discord is supposed to be what it is. Like it is kind of supposed to be like not completely lawless, but you're allowed to be able to say what you want to say. That's why we've tolerated Ronnie for all these years. That's why a bunch of our trolls are still around. But like something happened yesterday that I know some people have some feels about it. So we added a VBTV channel. And if I will bring you back to like, what was it last week when I asked a question in Everett's question, and then everyone just started bombarding me with shit they had to say about VBTV. So yesterday during my morning meeting, I got a message from someone from VBTV, and like I'm not going to use their name on the podcast, but I know they listen, so what's up.
And this person, I give them tremendous credit for jumping in the Discord and interacting regularly.
Well, yeah, but yes, they do that too. But basically, essentially, they asked if. This person is essentially one of the heads of VBTV. They asked if they could make a VBTV channel for basically people to tell them what they think about the product and say what they have issues. And, I told them straight up and I was like, sure, like if you want to, but like they won't hold back and I won't stop them. So, and as Rob said, when I made this channel and kind of, did the okay pheasants and added everyone, I basically told you guys like go at her. I was not expecting this person to jump in, which I think kudos. And so
totally huge credit.
So if you're in the Discord and you go to the VBTV channel, and if you have questions, or if you have any thoughts or comments, just put it in there, and that will be a direct link to Volleyball World and to VBTV. Because you guys keep on bitching to me about it. I have no control. I have no say. But the person who does and has a huge amount of influence and literally talks about it is there. I know some people have some feels about this. Once again, the good old corporate sellout plug got pushed in, which is, I think is funny, but like,
it is funny because like as far as this show is concerned, literally nothing has changed. Like not a single thing has changed.
Nothing's changed on the Discord either, too.
No,
right? Like
nor will it.
And like when you go in and see, like if you go into the Discord and click on this person's profile, you'll see that they've been there since June, right? That like we told you a while ago that you would be astonished if you knew who was in the Discord, and like
you still would be.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to reiterate that like nothing's going to change on that, but like I think that is pretty cool. Like you guys have a direct line to VBTV, and like there was requests being made of me and like, have you guys thought about this that I hadn't thought about, right? Like I don't rewatch games without knowing the spoilers, right? Like I go in and see the stats and see the results, and then I'll be like, "Ooh, that one's good. I'm going to go back and watch it." Whereas I never watch it from the perspective of not wanting to know what's happening, right? So like you guys not for asking for like a no spoilers mode is something that like I never would have thought of, right? So like you guys literally can have a voice in helping shape the best and like the biggest app in volleyball, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. First, I have a couple of things to add on this. Ever, you're absolutely right about all this. One, do you guys remember what it was like before VBTV existed? Do you remember how hopeless it was to try and find ways to watch volleyball? VBTV is the best thing that's ever happened to our sport, even though it's not perfect. Also, the people who are in the Discord and want your feedback are they understand the same thing that kind of we do on this show, which is like anything that we say about volleyball as a whole comes from a place of wanting to make it better. And that's why many people have jumped into the Discord and have exposed themselves to a lot of the garbage that you guys say about them, because they know that our community is the adopters of their product that matter and whose opinions are valuable. So don't take for granted that like there's people that want to hear from you all in our own community. That's a very good thing. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I'll make sure is on the record is that I am not employed in any way by Volleyball World.
Yes, correct.
That is still currently the case.
Yes, that is still currently the case. But yeah, when once again, this all happened during like I was in a meeting as this was happening. I literally just opened up Discord and like made the channel really really quick, and then he started commenting in it, and I was like, "Whoa, that's bold." And he's like, "Hey guys, like I want people to know that like we're not actually boomers who run this stuff." So just goes to show that like we said, way more people are watching. And also I'm a little pissed off that when I ask a question, all I get is snark and sass and sarcasm. And then once VBTV shows up, you guys are the nicest people in the fucking world. Like, what the hell? You guys talk so much shit all the time. And then as soon as someone with a VBTV logo shows up, you guys are just the nicest people. Like, imagine if we were just pranking you guys and like we set this up this entire time. That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. And there's nothing to stop anybody from kind of doing such a thing. But the Discord continues to be an interesting place. There was another one today, wasn't there, in the SuperLega channel?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Volleyball IT, which like to me, like Volleyball IT is one of the most like preeminent volleyball publications that are out there. And like for the longest time, that's how I followed the SuperLega, right?
Sure.
Like there was times before when Google wouldn't automatically translate that I would copy paste their articles from their website and bring it into Google Translate and like read it in Google Translate. Like that's how. And like I know how some people have some feels about like them being in the Discord and like their business practices and stuff like that, which is fair and valid, but like let's not question their reasonings for being in the Discord, right? Let's not sit there and say that this isn't a place for them. Like, trust me, like once again, Ronnie's a member of our community. If Ronnie's a member of our community, like we can let volleyball.it.
The Discord is for literally everyone.
Yeah. And like if they just want to be lurkers and see people who are complaining, that's more than fine. Right? Like once again, like I'm a public person in the Discord. Rob's a public person in the Discord. Like they're like going brand first, which is awesome. Everyone else except for maybe Ronnie you're all anonymous, right? So you guys can do whatever you want, say whatever you want. It was it is.
With
so
literally no consequences. Those of us that do go brand first into the Discord are opening ourselves up to risk. So you need to appreciate that we're doing that for you.
100%. They had a nice little message in there for you. Luckily, once they said that message, a lot of you were very supportive. I also sent them a message to just be like, hey, thanks for being here. You're more than welcome. But like, I think we also have to understand as a community that like this is going to have like, bro, I remember we were stoked when we got 100 people in the Discord. We got like,
we have like 2,500, something like that. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Discord is an awesome place. We will make sure that it stays that way. But just remember that there are the people that you're talking to in there are human beings. Don't be the classic mom's basement internet trolls who are really mean to people online because there's a digital barrier in between you. Don't be that person.
Yeah. But then again,
don't stop talking trash in the Discord. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
but
absolutely not.
Especially if people jump in there that are public facing in the Discord. Just maybe try and be a little nice to them sometimes.
Yeah, to our credit, when VBTV people jumped in, which surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, how about that?
But yeah, just wanted to touch on those things. And if you're not a member of our Discord, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, come on. Links in the description. This will be a really interesting teaser for people who are not who aren't in the Discord. Yeah, they're gonna have no idea what they're jumping into.
Imagine this is the first episode you ever watch.
Like what are they talking? You know what else people will be really confused by if they haven't watched the show before?
Papa.
Like, who the hell is this Daddy guy? Who is this, and why does anybody care? Well, if you know about Daddy Stankovic, and you know that we do the Where's Daddy segment, and I get to hide him somewhere in every show, and y'all got to try and find him. I got to say, Everett, I was disappointed by the number and quality of comments on last week's show about Daddy, and just generally. We only had 4 comments on last week's YouTube video. One of them came today. Y'all need to help us out. Give us. I hate to be the cringy YouTuber. The thumbs ups on the video and the comments after the video is over help the video significantly.
It's just the dog days of March, though. Our numbers are always not so great in this time.
I get it.
Yeah.
But what we will do as part of a way of baiting you all into leaving comments is we play Where's Daddy. And I hide him somewhere, and y'all got to try and find him. Last week, I hid him behind his own team's logo. Do you see him, Everett? He's there, like in the yellow Modena background there.
Yeah. Okay.
That was pretty good. Our guy Devin from the Volleyball Coverage channel, who's been doing awesome stuff, like clipping our shows for social media lately, says Daddy getting ready to take on Perugia. Anthony Lee says Modena's spirit is Daddy. We all know it. See how many daddy-ish figures there are. Well said. I completely agree. So keep an eye out for Daddy Stankovic. He's somewhere in this show. And when you find him, you need to comment the timestamp of where he appears in the main YouTube comment section after the stream is over. Do not put it in the live chat. That's how it works. On the subject of our community and VBTV and all that, Everett, you got to commentate PlusLiga over the weekend.
I did get to commentate PlusLiga over.
You got a donging of Lublin over Olsztyn.
I did get a bit of a donging. This was the game that was. This was the week of matches that was offered to me, so I picked the best game out there. It was fun. It was a little like I didn't have much direction in terms of like when it was going on. I just kind of like waited there, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're live now.
There is no direction.
I was like, let's go.
VBTV team, if you're listening to this, please get in touch with me because I have lots of feedback that I won't necessarily put in the channel. One of them is that communicating with your commentators is a really good idea.
But yeah, I hadn't commentated in a year since last national championships, last uSport national championship. So it took and like doing it, like watching a game and just commentating to yourself is not the same. Right.
Definitely not.
It just doesn't. You just can't create that same tension and the same level of anxiety. But it was good. I did. The one funny thing is that I do think that this match got switched in times. And
PlusLiga does that a lot.
Yeah, and so Resovia Suwałki was supposed to be originally at the night match, and this was supposed to be kind of the middle match, and then it got switched. So I got a message from whatever the people who run the thing, like asking me to do an audio test, a sound test, like, or not in the morning, but I was like, I'd been doing some stuff and had just got in the shower, and I was like, oh crap. and I almost had to do a sound check like in my underwear. But luckily we got it all figured out. But yeah, it was good. I was stoked about it, and stoked to hear some feedback and see when they're ready to do that. But
yeah, hopefully it's the first of many. I haven't gotten to listen to yours yet. I'm going to do that tonight because of that time switch. I wasn't able to watch it live on Saturday, but I'm excited that you got in there, and like more voices over the PlusLiga is a really good thing as we get towards the playoffs.
Especially because like the PlusLiga has been so interesting this year. And now I am a little surprised, Rob, because even though how interesting it has been, we're 2 matches out from the end of the regular season, yet we already know the 4 playoff teams.
The 8 playoff teams, yes, they are locked.
The 8 playoff teams, you're right. I don't know why I said 4. The 8 playoff teams, mostly because Olsztyn lost that match to Lublin. Norvid won their match against Olsztyn. They got another W. Norvid now 9 points ahead of Olsztyn, so they can't go there. Gdansk can't get there either. Suwałki has actually only has 1 game left, so they're 4 points back, 1 game left. Our top 8 are set. So big ups to Norwid Częstochowa for punching in. They were 15th in the PlusLiga last year. Yeah. Rob St. Clair. Coming into the season, we all thought that they would be in the relegation race. Patrick Indra is the absolute man. When you look at the fact that he leads the league in scoring, like he leads the league in kills per sets, and points per set. He's the only player in the league to be averaging over 5 points per set. And the fact that he did that with 3 different setters is bananas.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Completely bonkers, right? Like you'd expect to see a massive dip when you have like a 74-year-old Gigaldo out there, but still he's out there balling.
Yeah, shout out to Norvid. I'm stoked for them that losing Quinn Isaacson didn't tank their season, because it looked that way for a little while, but they've rescued it these last 2 games since Quinn's been back without any bandaging on his fingers and all that, and now they're locked into a playoff spot. So yeah, the top 8 teams are set. The seeds are not set, so there might still be a little bit of movement over the last 2 regular season games. Like you said, Suwałki is 4 points back. They've played 1 extra game. Them losing in 4 to Resovia ended their playoff hopes once Norvid won. So that was it for that. Now, the real intrigue to me, Everett, is that last relegation spot. And we've had an eye on it. It'll be between Barkom Lviv and Stal Nysa. The situation is pretty simple, even though they're separated by 5 points. Barkom this weekend plays Benzin. Benzin is terrible.
Benzin was won 3 games at the beginning of the season, and they haven't won since like October.
It's bad. So, yeah. They took 2 sets off of Zawiercie randomly because Zawiercie played the bench. But so if Barkom needs 3 points against Benzin, Stal Nysa this weekend plays Zawiercie. If Barkom gets 3 points and Nysa gets 0, which is expected in both cases, then the 2 of them play in the last match of the season with relegation directly on the line, and I love it. I love it.
That would definitely be a lot of fun. Otherwise, when you're looking at the playoff races in this, it does come down to a few things. If JW beats Lublin this week, they clinch first.
Yep.
So that is something to...
If JW actually gets any points at all, they get clear enough to lock down first.
Yeah. So that one will be a big one, because Lublin hasn't really been able, since their beginning spurt to the season, they haven't really been able to beat anyone above them. So like that is something to be aware of. Another big matchup this weekend is going to be, other than the JW versus Lublin, is going to be Zaksa versus Resovia. Because that one is going to determine Lublin cannot finish any lower than 5th, but Resovia could still sneak into that 5th place spot but they need to beat Zaksa and get 3 points this weekend.
Yeah.
From that, I think that matchup has to be definitely one of the more interesting ones coming.
We also have Warszawa versus Skra 2 versus 7. That could be a playoff preview. As it sits right now, those 2 teams would play in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. So that's fun as well.
And Skra has been doing good recently. Like they have some really big wins under the belt. That they get 3 downed by Resovia 2 weeks ago. But before that, they beat Zawiercie and they beat JW.
Yeah.
So this Skra team has really been picking up. I think Amin carried them through the first half of the season. And then surprisingly enough, the two Serbs, Peric and Kujundžić, have really stepped up their game for Skra, surprisingly enough. But
it's really good to see the Skra franchise bounce back after being
and Amin.
And Amin as well. Yeah. It's a good story across the board for that franchise. I mean, I think it was the guy's name, Piechocki, the old president owner who was a tremendous stooge and sold the team, and now Skra is on the way back to relevance, and they're back in the playoffs where historically they have owned. I mean, I wonder if they have the most league titles all time. They've at least got to be close in like the top couple teams in terms of historical playoff success. So I'm happy to see Skra back.
Yeah, it's awesome things to see there from Skra Beretov. And this PlusLiga season, I think, is really just getting started.
Definitely.
Right? There's no way we're getting the snooze fest of matches that we're getting from Italy in the PlusLiga.
No chance. That top 8 is all too good, and they're all like too close to one another. And there's been drama this year already, and their playoff series are a little bit shorter, and I'm really excited about it. Plus, like those top 3 teams there are almost guaranteed to be going to the Champions League semifinals. So there's lots of layers to Polish volleyball that have still been yet to uncover for the rest of the season.
Yep, it's good shit.
Oh yeah,
good shit.
You know what else is good shit? Everett, they did it again. Lüneburg and Berlin, they can't stop playing banger 5-setters against one another. They did it again over the weekend. Credit to the league for putting that game for free on Twitch. Absolutely the right thing to do. Lüneburg wins again in a 5-set banger at home, 15-11. And the funny thing to me, Everett, about a lot of these Lüneburg games is they usually get killed in the first set of all these matches. Dude, very consistently, they get destroyed in set 1, and they don't freak out.
It was the same thing today.
It was the same thing today.
It was the same thing today.
They're not a good first set team, but somehow they dig their heels in, they work back, and they figure it out. And this match was yet another classic in the season series between these two German squads.
I honestly, watching today, I was like, I don't know if I have any confidence in Stefan Hubner to game plan a match, right? Like, I don't know if he has any idea what's going to happen at the beginning of a match.
But in game,
dude's a genius.
It's absolutely brilliant.
In game, they can make adjustments, and his players like understand him on the fly, and they've got no issues. It's like we saw it again today. Like, they were down by like 4 or 5 early in the second, and I was like, oh, this one's basically done, and then they were able to make it interesting. Like, they were able to bring it back. Like, Everett is just like a way better team than them.
Oh yeah.
Like through and through. Like, that's a top 5 team in the world, no doubt about it. But yeah, like I think that they just have a really good ability to gain information. That first set is really truly just let's just go out there and gain and recon and gain some information, and then we're going to figure it out from there. Which is wild, which shouldn't be happening against a team you've seen 13 times this season. Like, I'd really you shouldn't be surprised that Jake Haynes can hit a ball. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, like,
this is what I like about like second tier European volleyball, is that even though the level isn't crispy and clean and sparkling, high, amazing, dazzling levels of volleyball, the entertainment caliber when you get two teams like this, like that sometimes do shit that doesn't make sense, is really fun. I think that's kind of the charm of the NCAA in a lot of ways across all sports, is like it's obviously not as polished. There's like a huge amount of like school pride and culture, but like the on-field product in all of like NCAA sports is just like these goofy rock fights where a lot of the stuff that goes on, you can't necessarily explain it, and it ends up being really fun and chaotic. And that's like the vibe I get from this particular German rivalry, and I can't get enough of it. When they play again in the playoffs, which they probably will, I will watch every game.
Yeah, hopefully it's free.
Hope so. Shout out to Xander Kaczynski, man. He is putting up numbers. 26 points in this one.
I have really been impressed watching his growth, especially this year. And like, I've talked about it a lot. He's an athlete who I've watched grow up in so many different ways. And he just looked way more dynamic today than I, he was always a little bit mechanic, and, a little bit like, oh, ball there, turn there, hit there. And he's just been moving a little bit freer.
Yeah, he's flowing a little more.
A little bit more. Big shout out to his trainer, Steve Teal, over at Metal Fitness here in Toronto.
What a weird pull.
Steve, honestly, like I haven't talked to Steve in years, but he's my boy. And he works with some of the best, like he's up there as one of the best trainers in Toronto. Actually, I might get him to work me out. Just get yoked.
Ooh,
for the season.
If that happened, that needs to be filmed and vlogged and put on this YouTube channel.
What, me working out?
Yes.
Like, me getting yoked?
100%.
No. I just want to show up to some games this summer and be able to ball out. Might start playing again.
Speaking of Canada, Everett, I got to give you a platform here.
What's
we're gonna shift focus to North America a little bit.
Oh,
uSports, Everett.
Yes.
My understanding, my very limited understanding about uSports is that the tournaments are about to happen. The women's is this weekend. The men's is in a couple weeks, but we know who's
they're
playing,
right now.
Right?
Both men and women are right now. They're not right now, but they're both this weekend.
I thought men's was in a couple weeks. I couldn't find a bracket about it, but at least I have the teams. Either way, the women's bracket is up right now. I do know this one is going down this weekend. It's in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, this one is Winnipeg. The men's is going to be in Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
This one is going to be very interesting. I think. I think it's ultimately just going to come down to the three teams out of the Canada West. You got the Pandas, you've got UBC, and you have the Bisons. Bisons won last year, right? No, they lost to UBC in the finals.
I thought UBC won last year.
They lost to UBC in the finals last year, but I really don't see big shout out to Memorial University.
Who even is that? Like
out of Newfoundland, out of St. John's, Newfoundland.
Really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
they upset Dalhousie in the semifinals or the first round of the AUS, just because there's not that many teams out there. So only 4 make the playoffs. So yeah, they got fourth, upset Dalhousie in their 1-4 match, made it to the finals, got kind of kicked like the third set, like SMU won 25-11 in the match. So yeah, the Pandas, big shout out to Memorial for getting there. It'll be a nice warm-up match for the Pandas for sure. McMaster versus Montreal, I think, is one that's going to be really interesting. And as a homer, I always go for McMaster in these situations, or the Ontario team, but ultimately I just think that the Carabins are a little too good. I think the RSCQ is maybe like in terms of consistent competition, it might be one of the most difficult conferences in Canada. Like, you've got even the new teams that are coming in are really bringing some really good things to the table. I know Sherbrooke was really good all season. They got upset, and now Montreal's here. So yeah, I think Montreal is really going to have that bonus. Sask, once again, they upset UFV, who was the number one. Like, that was the 8th seed in the Canada West, who upset the number one UFV Cascade. Yeah, Fraser Valley.
They got in because Manitoba had a host spot, so there was another Canada West team that gets in, right? Is that how that worked?
That's exactly how that worked. So yeah, big ups to Sask. Big shout out to Mark Dodds over there, who's been running a fantastic program there for a while. So I do expect to see a UBC versus Manitoba semifinal. I think UBC is going to take that. I'm expecting to see a Pandas versus UBC final.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't really think we're going to.
You don't think Manitoba's got any home court magic?
Maybe, but I don't know. I don't really know, to be honest. It's really tough to say. And I'll be honest, Rob, my level of watching uSport volleyball has been the least amount it's ever been in my life this year. So it's hard for me to really make a definitive call, especially on the women's side.
I get it. The men's side, I did just look this up. Their nationals is next weekend. So the women are 1 week ahead of the men, which is why we don't have a men's bracket yet, but we do know the 8 men's teams. So maybe you sports bracketologists out there in our Discord channel can like take a wild guess at who's going to play who. But I was interested in looking at this list ever because there's schools on this list that are going to nationals that I've never heard of. Like I didn't know Winnipeg was good. I didn't know that Windsor was good. I didn't know who Western even was. Like there are universities here that I've never even heard of before.
Okay, so let's start at the top. Winnipeg Westmen. Winnipeg Westmen are actually one of the most historic teams in uSports men's volleyball. Like they go back to like the 70s, and they've pretty much been coached by the same guy, Larry McKay, since the 70s too. Absolutely love Larry. Let's just call him a volleyball savant. And he would be the first one to tell you that, you know, recruiting was never his thing, but coaching was. And like a lot of really like Dustin Schneider, why am I blanking on other guys? Justin Duff, like so many good guys came out of that Winnipeg program. But it was really time for Larry to move on. Like he was a little bit long in the tooth. So they brought in Chris Voth, and Chris Voth is good friend, good buddy. He's the first openly gay volleyball player, both like in Canada and kind of like anywhere. Had a long pro career. Last year, he was a playing coach in Switzerland.
What?
Yeah, like he was like a playing coach, like played and helped coach the team a little bit. He's spent some time with the Canadian national team as well. And I absolutely love this. Like Voth is a guy who he was 2 years older than me. So I watched him play for back when the Bisons have a club, although they may still have a club. Watched him in like the Canadian final. Like I watched him at uSports when he played at Manitoba. Like the last time Manitoba was really good on the men's side, Voth was their main guy. So the fact that he's having this success with Winnipeg, I think is really special. He's like truly one of the gems of Canadian volleyball. He hung out with me back in Winnipeg in 2020 when nationals got canceled because of COVID, and I was stuck there. So the fact that Winnipeg is out there balling, I really think is fucking awesome. Like so much credit to Voth to go in and just shake things up, because the reality is truly is that Winnipeg might be one of the best volleyball hotbeds in the country. Like Trinity Western has for a decade was built off the best players from Winnipeg, right? Like Eric Lepke and Adam Schreimer and like all these guys, like the guy who scored the winning point for Winnipeg is I Olfert. He was like originally at Trinity Western, right?
He transferred back.
And he transferred back. But the reality is that for the past decade, you had two absolute legends coaching in Manitoba who just weren't recruiting. And now the fact that like Voth is staying at home and will be able to have those Winnipeg kids in there and keep them at home is really, really dangerous. And I think that like Winnipeg, like one thing is really interesting from the Canada West teams, like you have no team here from British Columbia, which is like I can't remember the last time that happened.
Yeah, Trinity wasn't super good, and then didn't UBC get like double upset? Like they should have won third and gotten here, but they lost to Sask. I saw.
Yeah, that's kind of been the trend, unfortunately, with UBC. I love that program. A lot of guys are out there. I love Mike Hawk, but just it's kind of been the case for UBC the past few years. It's been a little bit tough, but on the flip side, I'm a massive fan of Sean McKay, and I know he listens to this show. He actually rocks a 9x9 hat.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Sean McKay is an absolute beauty. He was honestly one of the first people that made me realize that my shit don't stink as a coach, that like I worked with him a few summers on the beach and came in like a little cocky, and then like saw what he was working on. I was like, oh, this guy isn't a Western meathead. So let's just jump to that. Actually, Sean McKay, who's the head coach of the Saskatchewan Huskies, as a player has a 100% record against the Trinity Western Spartans for 2 years in a row. Back in 13 and in 14, his Western Mustangs kicked out Trinity Western in the first round of the uSports National Championship. And those are the only 2 years. Before then, those are the only 2 years where they didn't make it past the quarterfinals, before this year, which they didn't even make it past then. So Sean, this Western team upset Toronto in the first round of the playoffs. Honestly, I don't really know much about them. I do know a decent amount about Western volleyball, so the fact that they made it to the nationals, I'm sure those boys are stoked. I'll have to go dig out what their Not Western Mustangs volleyball account is saying these days, because last year I know that was
Like
one of
they have a burner account somewhere.
yeah, well, because basically, like, they were running their own team account that was
Dude,
like, and
that's what we used to do in college club, and it produced some insane online
a little different levels there, but you know, your college club team running their own account is way different.
Is expected, yeah. So
Yeah.
like a uSports team doing that is hilarious.
Well, so like at Western, especially, they have like different tiers for their varsity sports, and like volleyball, men's volleyball is like the lowest tier. Like it is. I've heard some funny things about the budget over there at Western and what they get and don't get comparatively to others, because it's like a big Western school. It's like kind of one of our Ivies. It's like if you don't get into Queens because you're not smart enough, or like U of T or something, then you go to Western because you know it's a good party school, but it's also kind of an Ivy. But yeah, they got in there. They got in there nicely. I honestly haven't really watched them play, and I've got a lot of respect for Jim Sage in that program, but you know, I don't think that the OUA should have 3 teams. I'm just going to go out there and say it.
Okay.
I think that in this case, with the dominance of the RCQ over the past few years, that they should have had 2 teams. But
where is Brandon at?
Brandon is just outside of Winnipeg. But before that,
Manitoba, gotcha.
Before that, Brandon does have a really good volleyball history. Like a lot of really good international guys came through that
I remember
program.
that they lost to Trinity in the final one year when Lemke was there. Like, they were good. 2019,
yeah. They like, I have a lot of respect for that coaching staff, and I'm maybe I'll make a last minute trip out to Brandon next weekend. Who knows? But because like this, like Brandon is a school too. Like that is going to be a packed gym all weekend long. Right, like they're on like Brandon, because Brandon is a small community, like an hour or so outside of Winnipeg. Real cold over there. Not much to do in Brandon. You got the Brandon Wheat Kings, which is the junior hockey team, and then you got the Brandon Bobcats. So they pack the gym regularly. Like it's the only school where you get like front page news for men's volleyball in the newspaper. Like physical media. So I know that Brandon is going to show up for this one, but I also do want to give a big shout out to the Windsor Lancers. This isn't their first time at nationals the past few years. I don't think they were there this year, but they were there 2 years ago when I commentated at McMaster. I have a shit ton of respect for James Gravel in that program, right? Windsor is like just across the river from Detroit.
I've been there many times.
So when you have to deal with that stench coming in across over the river, I
actually played volleyball in Windsor a couple times, and the level was painfully bad, even compared to Detroit, where I was used to playing when I lived there, which was still painfully bad.
So I have a shit ton of respect for Windsor, because it's a really hard place to recruit to.
I bet it is.
It's like right beside, basically the butthole. And
Detroit's not that bad. I enjoyed living there.
Oh, I just mean America in general.
Oh yeah.
And it like basically like it's really hard to recruit to that school, so they get not like leftovers, but they just do a really, really good job at building that team and that culture. And I love seeing them have success. Queens ultimately got the win on this one. I mean, that Queens team is really well run. Big shout out to those Queens boys and that coaching staff. I really like them a lot. But James Gravel and Windsor, they do a top-notch job with not like maybe just lesser resources and lesser recruiting than some of those other teams. So hopefully they can do a pretty good job. I know 2 years ago at nationals they struggled a little bit, so I'm hoping that they can go there and make a bit of a bang. As seeding goes, I think we're going to see Winnipeg at 1, Alberta at 2.
Sherbrooke 3, maybe?
Sherbrooke at 3, Queens
I don't know
at
anything.
4.
I don't know why I'm guessing at this.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a bracket on next week's show, and we'll have a women's champion to celebrate. So we'll make sure that we do that. Thank you for your uSports preview as always, Everett.
Honestly, if you guys want to follow uSports Volleyball the most, go follow GVolley on Instagram.
That's where I got this graphic. He does awesome work.
There's 2 accounts that you need to follow. One is GVolley. GVolley, like Glenn is amazing in what he does, and you absolutely need to go follow him. He's fantastic. And then the other one is Varsity Ball Updates. That one is Alex.
Shout out Alex.
and Alex has been he does more reposts and stuff like that because he hasn't had the ability to go to games because he's been too busy being my intern bitch. But no, not actually. We pay him for his work.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, those are two really good accounts, especially Glenn. Like G-Volley has done such an amazing job, and yeah, definitely go check him out.
Need media.
Yeah,
absolutely. Speaking of you and Alex and all the work that y'all do, quick PVF update from the weekend. Do you have anything major to talk about?
No, there's nothing major. Like there's just a few things. Orlando's win streak is now to 9.
Damn.
I believe they've just been unreal. They keep on winning. Omaha's the same. Omaha has the same thing too. They've kind of kept it going. The big story right now is Vegas. They've dropped like 6 in a row and have really started to plummet. I mean, Vegas was a team that was in first just a few weeks ago. Now they're all the way down in 6th. Grand Rate, they lost 2 big games this weekend to Atlanta. Atlanta was out of the playoff picture last week, and then they got 2 big wins, one over Indy and then one over Vegas, and then Grand Rapids got a weekend sweep over San Diego to end there. They were on a 6-game losing streak. Now they're on a 3-game win streak to get things better over there. So it was a bit of a slow week in the PVF, to be honest. Not too much happening, but we're starting to get into that rhythm. I'm really interested to see what can happen because last week I said that like there was a very much a divide between like Grand Rapids, San Diego, and Columbus, and then Orlando, Omaha, Indy, Atlanta, and Vegas. Both Vegas and Grand Rapids are making that a little bit muddy now. So it to me for Atlanta, the big question is going to be, can they keep Merritt Beeson and Leah Edmond going at the same time? And I think, to be honest, it's really going to be, I'm really interested to see how these rookies do down the stretch, because let's remember that they played an entire NCAA season before this.
Great point.
So I think we saw a lot of rookies who were doing really, really well. And like Vegas is one of those key points. And like I highlighted it back in January that like they were doing really well with a handful of rookies. And now one of those rookies, Tegan DeFalco, is just a rookie, but didn't play NCAA this past season. But 5 of those players did, right? And I mean, like even with players like you have Cam Hanna and Charity Looper who went all the way down to the big show, right? So they had a long season. They were already drafted, maybe got a little bit of a Christmas break and then jumped right into to pro life. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes down the stretch. Honestly, I think that's kind of why we're seeing Omaha and Orlando really thrive, because both of those teams are really veteran. They don't really rely on rookies too much. Orlando a little bit. Natalie Foster's been really good down the middle for them. She's been one of the best servers in the league and also been really efficient attacking. But both those teams are pretty veteran all around, and I think that they're figuring out how to navigate a season, whereas all the younger the teams with younger athletes are still learning those up and downs of being a pro.
Happens.
Yeah.
Good assessment.
But I also think too, it's just part of the growing of the league, right? In terms of the PVF, like if you've only ever played PVF, you're only in your second year. So as things continue to grow in this, whether it's PVF or MLV or who the fuck knows, I think we're just going to see some steadying out of some things.
Yeah, I'm curious because the PVF season is so long. We've still got almost 2 months left. I think that's a lot of volleyball for the players, a lot of volleyball for the fans. I think there's a chance that it can get real slow, stale around this time. So keep an eye on the league to see if they kind of do anything about that. Transitioning to League One, that this regular season is a full month shorter. So like the last week of the regular season for League One is the first weekend of April. For the PVF, it's the first weekend of May. So I'm curious to see how that goes. This past weekend in League One, the only game I had my eye on was Houston-Atlanta. It was a rematch of that Love Classic final that ended up being good, and Houston reverse swept them. So I, having picked Houston in the preseason, loved to see that. Although then they had to play another game like less than 24 hours later where they got beaten 4 by Madison. So Houston, a bit of a victim of the League One scheduling deal, how they do their weekends this past weekend. But the Atlanta game was a good one. Jordan Thompson, 19 points, although low efficiency. Jess Mirza good. Amber Agiati, really good. Maddie Kingdon good, Rafaela Foley good. Like that team's just super solid. And then Mackenzie Adams, Coutinho, and Kelsey Cook for Atlanta, all 15 or above. So that looked like a solid match. That's about all I got, though.
Yeah. I'd love to watch more League One, but I just don't.
Yeah, both leagues have a wide assortment of where the games are, some of which are geo-blocked, some of which are subscription only. So that makes it a little difficult.
It is.
But here we are. We have volleyball being played all over the damn place, and we're going to talk about it when it happens.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about?
Nope.
Anything else in the chat you guys bitches want to complain about?
We love you all. We appreciate you all for watching and for you're being mean to the people today. Thanks for being a part of our audience and our community. There's a link to the Volleyball Source Discord in the description. You got to join that. You just have to. We had daylight savings time over the weekend, so we're 1 hour closer to Europe than we normally are.
For a little bit, yeah.
For a little bit. So for whatever that's worth, shout out to you European viewers and everyone else who watches in other corners of the world. We appreciate you. We will see you next week. Tomorrow is a massive day of CEV, so you're going to want to be in the Discord for that. For sure, we will be in there. We'll see you there. Everett, anything else?
No. No, I'm just scrolling through the Discord right now to see if there's anything in there.
Join it. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching.
Bye.